And we're live. It's past 2:30 p.m. It's actually 2:40 p.m. A bit late today because we've had a huge workshop here at KTH Innovation. Still lots of people having coffee and having kanelbullar, which is great. We aren't having chocolate balls today. It's actually the chocolate ball day. Chokladbollars danas dag. Swedish chocolate balls. It sounds worse in English. Anyway, so we're having kanelbullar and coffee, and I've managed to grab one of the. I was supposed to be in the big event, the Nordic Tech Live event, but heck, this is much more fun. KTH Innovation. I'm Donny, live from KTH Innovation, Stockholm, Sweden. We've had a big workshop with like 70 people here today, and I managed to snag one of the teams here. So I'm going to bring into the studio Joana and Shriharsha here from Knowcean. There we go. There's the camera. There are you. Yep. So welcome into the studio. Donny here with the Innovation Fika Wednesday afternoon, if you haven't figured that out yet. So we always start by asking the guests, who are you and what do you do? So who are you and what do you do?
So together we are Knowcean. I am Joana. I'm doing my PhD here in KTH, specializing in robotics, control, and data.
My name is Shriharsha. I'm also a PhD student here at KTH, and I specialize in using robots to sense the environment.
Okay. So lot of tech. Sounds like a very, very tech savvy team, kind of. And what is Knowcean? Your team. I'll actually put your names here on the screen there, so people can see that. So a bit of improvised studio here today as well. So what does Knowcean do? What is Knowcean?
So in Knowcean, we want to get high-resolution ocean data, very specifically related to algal blooms in the coasts of Sweden or in other countries.
Yeah.
And we want to get reliable, trustworthy, and localized data sets of the ocean so that you can take action on algal blooms.
And that is not being done today?
No, it isn't. It is attempted to do, but not very well, let's say. So we can do that by collecting data with satellites, right? And we can also do that with big research vessels, with sensors and engineers that collect that data. So the problem is that with satellite data, we cannot get very good data. We can get very low resolution data. We can get false positives. And we get a lot of clouds. And with local data in research vessels, it is super expensive to go on.
Like $100,000 a day.
A day?
Yeah. But not to mention the team of engineers.
But when I read in the paper and it's like, algae blooming in this part of the ocean, and or don't go swimming there, or whatever but as a consumer, that's my sort of my perception of what the algae in the water is as a consumer going swimming or not, and I see this, algae. How do they get that data? Just somebody just says, "Oh, look, there's algae," or how does it work?
So they look at satellite images, and then they also go like monthly on these research vessels. And with this, they get certain amount of data from the satellites. You get like a low resolution data set. You get a feel of has there been an algal bloom or not. While with the research vessel, you get like what algae was there, but that's it, more or less.
Okay. So how do you do it then? What's the new way of doing it?
So in my PhD, I'm working a lot with using underwater robots for environmental sensing.
Underwater robots?
Yes.
This is really cool. Okay.
So we use like really small and low cost AUVs, that's what we call them, autonomous underwater vehicles, and we use them to gather environmental parameters of the ocean. So I've been using it for different use cases, and algal blooms are a very interesting use case to try this on. And Joana has also been working on this problem in a different perspective.
Yeah, so what I do is I try to understand how to use these platforms, these autonomous submarines, in an optimal way to collect data. So we cannot cover the Baltic with submarines, right? But we can use it in an optimal way to collect the ideal points. So what I do is that I try to teach them how to go to the optimal position. So where there is more variance of course. So the front of algal bloom, for example.
So how many? Sorry, but I'm sorry for interrupting you. But how you said? Are you talking about one UAV, or is it many UAVs, or how? When in the future, when this is sort of up and running?
If it's up and running, we would say that we don't need too many of these AUVs to get the data, because thanks to Joana's research work, we can use very few data samples and gather a very high resolution data set. So we can use these local samples and take the satellite image and combine the two to create a high resolution image of what's going on. So we can use like tens of these AUVs if you want to cover the whole coast of Sweden. Maybe you need like 100 of them.
Because you figure out where they should go and what they should measure.
Exactly.
Okay, and you're focusing on the algae bloom now, or or is it all kinds of data you're talking about?
So we believe that algal blooming is a big problem right now in the Baltic Sea and in Sweden, and we thought that it's a very good use case to apply all our knowledge to, because this is something real and today, and it's affecting society. But this method is scalable. It can be used for other ocean phenomena, like an oil spill, or like also, for example, if you have chemicals coming into the water, to check that, things of that sort. Basically, to monitor water quality and to generate these data sets and forecasts.
That's good. I'm good we came on to that, because my sort of main question then would be, what is, I'm not going to say what the actual problem is then, but what are we actually trying to solve? Because tech-wise, I'm sure we can figure out tons of ways of using these, but what's the big problem that we're actually trying to solve here on the societal or for the world? What we're trying to fix?
So there is lack of data. Maybe that is one way to put a problem. And because there is lack of data, we cannot do anything about the problem, right? So if we don't have data about a specific problem, we cannot implement any measures on it. And if we do, we don't know if they're effective or not. So this is the situation of our oceans overall, not only the Baltic Sea, in general.
So in general, we don't know enough.
We do not know.
Definitely
So
not.
maybe you heard already that surface or underwater, we don't really have data, right?
We have much more. There is this common saying that we know more on the moon than we know about what's there on Earth.
Yeah, and there's also another saying that says satellite data revolutionized how we see Earth,
Exactly.
right? And now we can revolutionize how we see surface and underwater.
Oh wow!
But you need these platforms.
But I mean, that's fascinating, because one would have, I'm going to say one would have thought, I would have thought that we've sort of kind of figured out where everything is, but of course you're right. I mean, the whole ocean floor is uncharted, more or less, right? So let me put the question this way then: if we then have some really good real-time data of the algae blooming as an example, what can that help us do?
So it can help us better understand these phenomena, because today algal bloom phenomena are still not well understood, especially in local areas. So that gives us better understanding, and when we have better understanding, we can take better mitigation and prevention measures. And we can also get better forecasts, so that we can say that it's going to happen here, and before it happens, we can do something about it.
Yeah, so more specifically, we could say, for example, fisheries or algae farms or anyone making money out of the sea, so to say, they would benefit from this, because in the case of fisheries, you just go up to the sea and you to fish, right? And then you see, oh no, there's algal blooms. Okay, let's go back.
And then they go and go, oh look, algae.
Yeah, but you cannot predict there will be algae. Maybe you can think, around the summer there will be, but where and when? You just really don't know that. And if they are, then there is a procedure that you shouldn't feed the fish, so they should stay in lower waters, so that they are not affected by the algal blooms. So that is one thing. Other thing is costs.
Exactly. It's a lot of costs involved, because if you have municipalities which are near this water, which are affected by algal blooms, they have to spend a lot of money to treat the water. Like Växjö in south of Sweden, they spend around 5 million crowns each time a lake has algal blooms, just to add aluminium powder in the water to collect the algae and make them go down. It's a very huge cost.
And this procedure is not even a procedure that is long term. It's just short term. Right now we need to do it, and then we'll see what happens. And we will not really see. We'll just hope, right?
And so another use case is that we want to measure whether there are ways to treat the water for algal blooms. For example, adding this aluminium powder, or stopping runoff from going in, stopping nutrients from going into the water. But we don't have good data on whether these measures are working, number one, and number two, how well are they working. So if we have localized high resolution data of this scenario, we can actually check what measures work, what doesn't work, and whether it's worth to invest in these measures or not.
I was going to ask you about the nutrient runoff, because that's something I've heard a lot when it comes. Whoa, wire, thank you. Live wires here on the floor. So, because that was, when we started talking about especially the Baltic Sea. One of the things I've been hearing a lot is the runoffs from fertilizing and different crops. And be careful of the wire, please, guys. Thank you very much. And this will help us detect that as well, in a way.
Exactly. Yeah.
We can see a before and after.
That case is even a bit easy, I would say, because we can go directly to where the river meets the Baltic Sea, and we can right there collect the data. So that is even an easy use case, I would say.
And how do we know? I mean, okay, so this me, layman, asking questions I have no idea about. But do we know who is causing the runoff? I mean, can you say that this ship dumped this, or this farm did this, or this load offloading did this? Or because I mean, I've heard there's lots of like spillage in harbors when they are like loading and offloading ships. There's a lot of
yeah.
So
Okay, so that is one case for sure. And we talked with this girl.
I think
from,
come closer to the microphone, please.
okay.
So we were speaking to this NGO called Race for the Baltic,
Yeah.
and they deal a lot with protecting.
You're
the
speaking to
Baltic
them.
Sea. We
Yeah.
spoke to them, and they were telling us
Yeah.
that harbors, especially, have a lot of these chemicals being transported, and they
And
have
even
runoff
manure,
from-
I think that
manure
Yeah,
and
that's
fertilizer.
where I heard it too.
Yeah,
That's why.
And and this manure and fertilizer goes into the water, and that's a very big problem here in Sweden, as also in Poland, in Danzig,
Yes.
Gdansk,
Yeah.
the English name.
Yeah.
So that is one issue, and the other is from farms, the agricultural runoff. They have some initiatives to kind of catch it before it goes to the water, but those are two key sources that
Yeah.
we've heard of.
So that is one case. There's also another thing that contributes to these nutrients in the water, and that is nutrients that are already on the floor of the
Yeah.
Baltic Sea, right? But we don't know to which percentage, right?
Okay. So you're going to
So
go all
there
the
are
way
two
down, and
sources.
actually, I mean,
So
are
in the Baltic Sea, our robots can go all the way down because it's not that deep. But to go further down, like in the deep ocean, you need a little more robust platforms.
Yeah.
how deep does your robot go?
So ours is capable of going down to 100 meters depth.
Yeah. How deep is the Baltic Sea?
It depends. In the areas that we're looking at, in the coasts, it's up to 50 to 60 meters.
Okay.
So it's
we're
not yet that
focusing
deep.
mostly on the coast.
So it's not the Mariana Grave kind of.
No, it's not. That requires a different challenge.
But isn't okay?
Sure.
Is it a prob? Is it? I mean, in general, the Baltic Sea isn't feeling very well,
No.
in my perception.
Yeah.
Is one of the problems that it is kind of shallow? I mean, would it been better if it was like super deep? I don't know.
I think we're not so much like marine biology, so I'm not sure
no.
answer for that. But
one-
maybe. Huh?
Could be that.
Could be.
Another reason
I don't
could
know.
also be the salinity level, because it's not as salty as
No,
the
it's
other
just,
oceans, so
it's I
that-
mean, I'm from the west coast of Sweden,
Yeah.
and for me, the Baltic Sea is like a lake. A sweetwater lake where you can go sort of swimming without any problem. No offense to any East Coasters, but the West Coasters, we're kind of used to
West Coast, best
more of a sea.
Sounds good.
Okay, so the robot can go down way past what we need to figure out, but we'll be taking samples of the ocean
water.
floor as well, or
No. So
Just the
that
water.
would be a cool project, but that's
that's
What we're looking at is to
that's
sense-
Notion 2.
Yeah, exactly.
That's even more knowledge. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And when will we see your UAVs, your underwater vehicles, starting to collect data?
Great question. We have this summer experiments, and as any experiments, we don't know if everything is
gonna
gonna
go.
go well, if something's gonna
Yeah.
go wrong. But we will have our first experiments.
Yeah, we're going to
in
try it
July.
out this
But
July.
super cool, and I'm really looking forward to the results. And if there's anything, is there anybody you need to meet, or anybody you need to, ask for anything? You're
Yes.
here. This is the world.
Yes, we're trying to talk with everyone, basically everyone related to the Baltic Sea and other bodies of water, seas, oceans,
Yeah.
right?
And we're trying to also understand like decision makers and businesses at how they are affected by this problem and how
Yeah.
we can help them.
If you are interested in saving the Baltic Sea, if you're interested in working if you work in the Baltic Sea, if you're any kind of interest group that has anything to do with Baltic Sea, or if you have anything to do with any kind of water body that you would want to understand better,
The data.
Notion is the startup to speak to, right?
Yes.
With that, I'll just say thank you so much for letting me just pull you into this super improvised broadcast. I mean, I do it every Wednesday afternoon, 2:30 p.m. And this was the super improvised one. But I could not do one. So thank you so much for being here. I'll be cutting and pasting it all over online, and the whole world will see you. Promise for that. With that, I will say thank you very much to you, both of you, Joana and Shriharsha. I will not shake hands. And thank you everyone out there. I'll see you next week, 2:30 p.m. At that time, I'll be more punctual. Next week, 2:30 p.m. on the nose, Innovation Fika with Donny. Now go and have a chocolate ball, chokladboll, which is chokladboll day
idea.
today. Thank you very much, and
you.
goodbye.